So, Sean Sheshan Hashmatpur, he talks about dealing with major transition. And he gives a list of ways to look at it. And then I used an example of one of my major transitions, no longer ongoing. So first of all, he says, strengthen your core foundational values. This has to do with self-trust, scheduling, connecting with the drive, focusing on one thing at a time, and direction. Then he says, then he says, number 2, relearn what it means to work, with love and passion. Move past burnout, face the pointlessness and exhaustion, see reasons for your choices, and wonder about your motivations. 3, understand what true confidence is. Comfort being yourself, not getting caught up with other people's lives, and not chasing external recognition, not comparing, unconditional acceptance, and in such that it's regardless of how much one has worked or their achievements. 4, practice being whole. Do not hate the inner masculine male energy. See the beauty of the other. The sexual shame can be released, no longer feeding the anger or hurt from the old wounds. Compassion for self and for others, including at the times of rejections. So whether we're the rejecter or we're the rejected. 5, let go of old relationships, not needing to prove or fix or make it work, except it was necessary at the time, and everyone does the best they can with knowing what they know at the moment. I want to comment that sometimes this is a lot of grief. I'm not saying it's easy personally. Like, I know for me, what kept me back from a lot of this was I didn't want to feel the grief. But I want to show you my necklace today. I'm wearing the life. So it's this transition of all the different colors, the circle of life. You know what happens when all these leaves fall off? It becomes part of the new generation underground. The roots, they take in their energy from the detritus, which the dead of the old becomes what the new is literally growing roots in. So communicating feelings, pay attention when something feels off, find guidance that resonates, notice that suppression leads to resentment, and trust that the inner wisdom will show us how to handle it. You might want to think of this, an example is to temporarily distance ourselves, to regulate before we engage and express. I had an example of this yesterday. They were just making me feel unsettled, shaky, out of control, but it was like in an environment where I had the right to feel safe. Not that there is ever not an environment, but it was like somebody who was in my bubble. And so I told them, you have to leave now. And they kept answering back I said, you have to leave now. And they left. And then when I spoke to them again, I said, I have to be able to have a right to connect with myself because you're not stopping. When I say I know my limit and this is the boundary, you can't try to turn me into your God, that I'm supposed to let you be messy and make a mess and everything. You have to be able to respect that this is the edge. And then what happens next is you connect with yourself so that you can show up well, and I connect with myself so I can show up well. Anyway, so no, remembering no means no, even when something is feeling, no means no when something is feeling intolerable or overly pushy. Letting others ignore or be defensive when I reach out with what bothers me, it is their process. Like, they don't have to agree. I don't depend on them. Let them be the adults that they are. Heal from patterns where there's the torture or the bully that was allowed. It's like this idea that there should be room for it. There's rights, or, oh, well, poor thing, No. Heal from those patterns where we allow it. Even with openness and honesty, people can be disappointed. So we have to really let go of attachment to outcome. We are worth being proud of we ourselves is worth us being proud of it, even if others don't understand. For just improving our abilities, our capabilities. And we can also learn how to hold space for others to communicate their feelings too. Like the same way, we say, oh, they shouldn't have the expectations or be attached. We shouldn't have expectations be attached to outcome when we're expressing our feelings, and others are allowed to say no. Letting others express their feelings means that we also know we have the right. We could say no if we need, if that was what was holding you back from hearing other people's feelings, or even we could react however we need to react. They're an adult too. And number 7, final step, he says, let go of the perfectionism. Basically we're reprogramming our mind. We have to rewrite the past, get help. We can journal intentionally, create quality relationships, and develop a clear vision of who I am becoming. And then I want to talk about something that happened and then triggers in general. So next 2 parts. Oh, and one more thing, Sean Sheshan Hashmat Tapor, he shares about growth versus good or bad. What, growth itself is a journey versus good or bad is like you go the left side or the right side versus just growing. So growing is expanding in multiple directions. Also, I'm sharing this. And then what he says is that one man's junk food can be another person's strawberry shortcake. You could call it junk food, but that person might put in quality time on every single ingredient and make it by hand. One couple's wedding that's ruined by the rain, but it could be just what the farmer needed. Like, they say, oh, our wedding's ruined, but then the farmer's like, I could feed my family, I could pay for my kids' weddings. One person's nightmare is another person's dream. So remember, the mind is a very fast electrical system. It's a very fast nervous system. It's the brain, so it moves faster. The mind itself moves faster through the electricity. And in short, I want to share on each neuron, you have like the head, like with branches, and then you have the axons, which are like the roots, the tail, and then the roots. So the axon itself has sheaths, fat sheaths, like very very small level. We're talking about like looking like zoom to these little sheaths, myelin sheaths, and it's called saltatory conduction. The conducting the energy, it like jumps. So thinking about how fast the brain actually works, and that the mind works even faster. So our mind is making sense of reality faster than we're even processing information in our senses. So when we say reprogram the mind, we're like, it takes many, many times before we could actually synchronize and pull back the mind before it's already going to what it's used to or what it's conditioned. So that's what triggers are. So before we talk about triggers, I just want to say when I was told that my landlord was petitioning to evict me, I was very shocked. I thought, how could this ever happen to me? First of all, he didn't evict me. We came to an agreement. But this is, like, I just thought, I'm the victim here. Why would I get evicted? I've been a good tenant. It's not a he. The corporation was constantly neglecting things that were going on in the apartment. I felt victimized. I felt powerless. I felt shocked. I'm going to go through now. I'm going to talk about it. And had to think about, how do I process all the things they did against me? They violated me in so many ways. And I kept thinking, I kept adding to the list, and I never quite finished it. It was so many times I kept adding, and I was like, I don't have enough complaints. I'm so shocked. It was too much information. So this is like a trigger I had, a big trigger, right? Like, I'm not okay. Nothing's going to be okay. I felt like I had a nervous breakdown, like I had a depression attack, a panic attack. It all happened at once, and this was like processing the first 2 days of that. I came home and it was on the door, like they're petitioning to evict me. Now they couldn't actually evict me without a court case, and I spoke to the judge, and it turned out they wanted to do an agreement with me, but since they're a corporation, they don't really talk to you. They didn't have a good relationship with me, and so I found the notice on Shabbos, which is the Sabbath. No phone, no nothing. They sent a non-Jewish person to come and tape it to my door because they're Jewish, the corporation, to appear on Tuesday, which was a Rosh Chodesh, which is like a holiday for the new moon, for the new month, Nisan, which is supposed to be a time of liberation and freedom, 5784, because they want me out after the lease expired at the end of the summer. They said, we don't want to renew the lease, but I said, could you at least then, if I put money in the apartment, I made it better than I found it, could I have some money to move out? They didn't want to tell me yes. Meanwhile, that's usually what the agreement is. I found out from people when the landlord, basically it was a co-op, I had no rights, so they could tell you to leave, but it takes time before you could actually force you to leave. So here they were trying to say they want to use the apartment for something else, and I was saying, well, then pay my moving expenses and to help me to move to the next place. And I didn't feel I was a bad tenant. I thought I put up with so much bad stuff, and I even got injured and so on. Anyway, so basically, I had to process it. So I said, now I'm going to have to tell the judge about all the violations, how it's my first apartment back in the community. It was hard to find something affordable. The landlord manager blocked me after I fell down the stairs. When the elevators were broken, I was trying to carry my bike over the roof to the 6th floor. I lived on a 6th floor on the other side. And yes, the elevators used to break all the time in the middle of the summer and whatever. They refused to cover my moving expenses for the first, and like a couple months into the new place, because if it's going to be more expensive, I mean, it turns out everything worked out perfectly. I could just tell you in hindsight, I moved to a way better, more suitable apartment where I was able to get out of some difficult situation, and I was like, that was also going on in my life, and I was able to be in a more private place that feels like a glove. I'm here now. It's a little cheaper, utilities are included, and so on, and it's private, it's quiet block. It's not on the 6th floor, it's just a few steps in. And my landlord's great. She's a wonderful person. If I knew that they would want to renovate it to raise the rent, they could barely raise it on me since it's a co-op building with over 200 apartments and there's a law like only a few percent they're allowed to raise. just a year later kicked me out. I wouldn't have moved in. I got a fridge for the apartment. I brought in a big new fridge. I did a lot of things for the apartment. And the windows were like kind of broken. I felt so so basically just saying there's a lot of things they didn't do. There was heating issues, sometimes not enough heat at all. There was noises often from the super going in the middle of the night in the courtyard. One time people were fighting bed bugs, people were fighting mice. I barely had pests, but there was issues in the building. There was cockroaches they weren't taken care of. Even a water bug I heard here or there. It was just very difficult to live in that building, hearing about these things and worrying at any moment you turn and something's there, God forbid. And I'm not talking about spiders or centipede, that's not the issue. And then just like things breaking, and there was no peephole. Like I had to put like stuff into the lock to cover it. There was like a peephole. The lock, the door broke at one point. You could only use the top lock. There was an issue with the light in the closet. There was an issue in the bathroom. It made the roof collapse of the apartment below. There was a leak in it. I could go on and on. And so anyway, so it seemed, and I wasn't the worst of it. There was, then we didn't have gas for like 6 weeks, and they gave us burners, but then I had to pay National Grid for something. Anyway, I felt so hurt by God of the world. I totally felt defeated, despondent, despairing, distraught. And it seemed I had no coping mechanisms to support me. Everything seemed meaningless, and like every day, every day I was looking at, I was like, everyone's just trying to cope through their various ways, but none of them could reach me. I've given up on a future, on life, at that time, and it seemed that people were cruel and evil and get away with it, because I was thinking nobody could help me, and this is how people are, the way the landlord was, and it's therefore not because of the stories in my head. I hadn't programmed my mind, and I hadn't reprogrammed my mind here of why I'm not wanted. As a child, when I'd be kicked out of the house, I wasn't wanted. I was being punished, and all these other things. And so you could see, like, I was having these automatic stories. My mind, since my childhood, my brain and my mind had to synchronize and catch up with each other, and so I could work with it. Anyway, I thought, it's not a good idea to bring children in this world. God wants to bully and persecute and cause suffering. I didn't believe that what was happening to me was the best thing ever. At the time, I felt my stories made it be the worst. I thought, to everyone born since Adam and Eve, and God wants to hurt everyone, and I was angry at God, and there was no way this could be for the good. That was how I felt. So obviously now I could say, one second, let me just have some tea. So good, hot water, hot drink, just in this time. And I have a back issue. I want to say my name, Shana Bas Bracha Rivka, that I have a full recovery for my back. And my grandmother has a similar issue right now, Shterna Sarah Bas Chana. Shterna Sarah Bas Chana. That we both have a full recovery for our issue with the back. In honor of me doing this work, I mean, I'm married. I've been doing this for 2 years now, I think, at least. Yeah, 2.5 years. And then it's over 3 years for sure. I've been doing this over 3 years, so I can't believe it. But so for now, I'm just saying, and I know, I haven't been able to do every single day. There's holidays, there's other things, but the reason I'm saying that I want to, I'm not saying I don't want to say that it's in that. The reason I do this has not been just so I'll have a recovery, but I'm saying in addition that some of the merit should go from today's session and just the fact that I do it in general. Anyway, so Holistic Tree Tribe, it's an Instagram account, but I found it was saying the most prominent triggers, causes, and what do we need to heal from. So when we get triggered by being told what to do, we need to heal from being controlled. If we get triggered by conflict, we need to heal from emotional instability, reactive surroundings. I would say like unpredictable surroundings. Okay. If we feel triggered by compliments, we need to heal from being overly criticized. If we get triggered by being vulnerable, we need to heal from being shamed or ridiculed. If we get triggered by rejection, we need to heal from fear of not being enough. If we get triggered by change, we need to heal from fear of the unknown. If we get triggered by being alone, we have to heal from fear of isolation. If we get triggered by criticism, we have to heal from a fragile self-esteem. If we get triggered by competition, we have to heal from the scarcity mindset. If we get triggered by uncertainty, we need to heal from the need for control. If we get triggered by authority figures, we need to heal from post the trauma of around authority. If we get triggered by loud noises, we need to heal from sensory sensitivity. If we get triggered by failure, we need to heal from perfection mindset. And if we get triggered by lack of control, we need to heal from a fear of vulnerability. And we'll stop here for this video, and I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.